Okay, hey everybody. Welcome once again to Occultists Anonymous, our little corner of the internet. We are, as always, brought to you by Roll20 and viewers like you. Not brought to you by, but sponsored by. The viewers like you are Ryan, Thomas, Noba, Harry, Michael, Brandon, Cat Feathers, Josh, Alexander, Puppeteer, Cinna, Emil, Moku, Melissa, Doc the Doomed, Other Michael, The Arcane, Bernie, Alan Michael, Al, Lore versus Data, that's a deep cut, Julian, Delora, Jenny, Blood Angel, Jack, Zoltan, Funzo Sue, Milo V3, Vortex, Adele, Crazy Man 1772, George, Woodfoot, Neomegus, Chris, Shexara, Set Camo, To Stun, Toast, Daniel,
That's
Thomas, Taryn, Angfalith, Parker, and Riafio. Thank you very much for your support. It helps do things like refresh gear and pay for awesome artwork. The new headset I'm wearing right now is thanks to your contributions, so thank you very much. When we last left our story, the crew are about 6 months into their journey. They've had a few harrowing adventures, done a ton of science, also suffered some losses. There's been a few crises on board. And when we last left off, they had just obtained the possible pinnacle of a science vessel's operation, and that's a first contact with a brand new species.
Oh, yeah.
They've done some initial investigations, spent a little bit of time on the planet. There's some questions about some kind of a broadcast warning, like an emergency alert system saying stay in your homes until we deal with the outsiders. You're not sure if it's pertaining to you or not, or just there were some questions about that. But the decision was made to head down in a shuttle and make first contact. And just left off.
Clarification.
Or use transporters.
Because you brought it up, whether the signal was talking about us, did we pick up those radio signals as we were coming in?
Yes, as you were coming in.
Okay, so they weren't already playing.
Yeah, you weren't in orbit when they were. You weren't in orbit when they started. They were already playing when you arrived in the system.
Right. Okay. Cool. Just making sure I had that interpretation right.
Yep. All right. Now, before we get into the whole first contact scenario, I wanted to roll back the clock a little bit, because Lieutenant Zakolnin didn't have a chance to meet Lieutenant Matan. So this is back when you're just part of your initial transit outside of Federation space. You would have had a chance to meet with your science crew. Science vessel, this is one of the largest departments on board. So you've got biologists and xenoarchaeologists and xenobiologists and all kinds of sciencey folks. So you're the biggest component of the crew loaded for this particular mission. And your number two, is a Denobulan, the name of Matan. So you head into the main science lab, which is sort of your office dispatch area, where you would, hand investigations out to different people, and they would report back to you on what they're doing. So you have quite a large number of staff, but Matan is your number two. And he's a male Denobulan. Seems very friendly as you walk in. Lieutenant, very nice to meet you.
Hello. I can't make his character sheet grow. Oh well.
Make my character sheet grow.
I was right there with you.
There we go.
So from his personnel file that he's got a focus on xenobiology, a theoretical physics, and xenozoology.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll complement each other well. Basically all sides of a xenoecologist.
Mm-hmm.
I focus primarily on plants. He's got animals and other living things.
Yeah, pretty much covers you guys pretty well.
Someone should read this. Oh, whatever. Yeah, I'm not super friendly with everyone else. Very formal. Just a nice to meet you. Discussing ways in which we can work together in our missions.
Sure.
My primary focus is on documentation, really. Exploring, documenting, seeing what's
Maintaining
out there.
records.
Yeah.
No problem. His big question is, do you want to let him handle the day-to-day taskings and duty rotations and stuff like that, or did you want to take more of an active hand in that? And then he'll just bring problems and larger solutions or larger decisions to you.
I would have him do it initially.
Okay.
Because that is more convenient, but I'm watching closely to see how it's done.
Sure. So he'll make sure he copies you on everything he does, and so he can oversee. Sure, no problem. I guess that's about it. He's very amiable. He's very sociable. He's very friendly. Doesn't seem to take things too seriously. Like he's sort of got this, sort of half amused air about him most of the time. Even if it's, something that's like, oh, that could be seriously dangerous. He's like, oh, that's curious. He's got a very positive outlook about things. So the only other issue is during your time you had a few adventures, and one of those adventures there was an alien ship that managed to knock your warp core offline. So there was a lot going on. There was a boarding action, blaster fire all throughout the ship. The captain was trying to negotiate and bluff his way against an alien vessel that was firing on you. While all that was going on, you were down in the engine room with the chief engineer trying to crash start your warp core, which at the time had about a 50-50 chance of either working or destroying the ship. There was a lot of butting of heads. Chief Engineer Jiffis has a playbook. It's very extensive, and he wanted to follow the playbook. And we don't have time. There's no playbook for this because it's never been done before, except the Enterprise did it once, and they didn't really document it very well. So there was a little bit of friction during that whole exchange, but you guys managed to get the warp core started with an implosion, and the captain managed to talk your way out, and you guys secured the borders, and the medical team managed to sedate all of the aliens without incapacitating anyone else. It was a whole fun time. You lost one of the science crew during another altercation with an energy field that surrounded the ship while you guys were studying it. Everyone on the crew started to feel feelings of fear and paranoia, and it led to a couple of violent altercations, and one of the science crew was killed during that crisis. It turns out that energy field was actually sentient and was a child and was lost from its parents, and you guys managed to reunite it with its parents, and it all worked out fine, but the Curie did suffer some losses during that exchange. There was a service was held for the 4 crew members that were lost in that incident. So just keep that in mind as a history thing that you'd be aware of. But you're through the first 6 months of this cruise, your crew has been extremely busy. You've found new stellar phenomena. You've got several days watching a neutron star collide with a black hole as the orbit slowly decayed. Tons and tons of data that you're still processing even weeks after the events and stuff like that. So your science crew is definitely very busy. The only other thing that would have happened of note was that you would have been called into the ring in the gymnasium. It appears that all the senior staff are kind of interested or are being shuffled into doing some hand-to-hand combat exercises. With Lieutenant Chavor, who is an Andorian. She's the second in charge of the security side of things, so answers to the commander. And in the initial exchange, she's like, we'll take it easy on you, and then you completely knocked her on her ass, which surprised the hell out of her because you're wearing a blue uniform. So after that, she was a lot more not that she didn't respect you, but she was a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? You were much more of an equal in the ring for her in her mind. You weren't just. She wasn't just putting you through some exercises.
Not just the nerd.
Yeah, she thought you were just the nerd because most of the science crew would generally not have a lot of combat skills. They focused her, but you had caught her by surprise, and that earned her a mark of respect. I think that catches you up with everyone else. Is there anything I'm missing?
Just a clarification. She would be the head of science, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then, does she show up to the poker game?
So the commander has invited all the senior staff to a regular poker game.
Yeah, I would go.
Okay.
Rilla's very by the book when she's on the clock. Like, while working, we're working. But when off the clock, she'll relax a bit more.
Cool.
Because
Get
of
drunk with the wing commander.
Yeah, you
So
might want to
cool.
go back and rewatch that section. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So the poker games, nobody dominates the poker games. You guys are a well-rounded crew. You all have different focuses. So in your case, you could use like reason and science to worry about odds and do card counting and that kind of stuff, or even insight, because your insight's also pretty good at it.
Nah, it's not.
Okay, so there's a few different ways you can do it. And you guys are all fairly well-rounded, so nobody's dominating. It's all going, somebody's on a hot streak and somebody's not. It's kind of fun. And I have rules for that if it ever comes up. But I think that picks us up with you guys have detected a warp-capable probe several light years from the nearest system. It was fairly primitive looking, like a basic sort of like the equivalent of like a Voyager probe coming from some planet. And you might trace it back
like
and
our,
found...
like the Earth Voyager.
Yes, like the Earth Voyager.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
sorry.
went straight to
Lightspeed
the satellite,
Sputnik is what I have
the
in my head.
Lightspeed Sputnik is pretty spot on.
Also a
sounds
good
like.
band name.
It's like a Lightspeed. So you trace that back and found it looks like an industrial level civilization that produced this probe, but there's no like major industry. There's no large factories or anything like that. There's almost no pollution that you guys can find. So whatever industrialization they have going on is fairly small scale. But they do appear to have science labs and things like that. So it looks like they produced this probe. You've scanned electromagnetic radiation coming to the planet in the form of communication signals that appear to be warning people to stay in their homes until the outsiders dealt with. And you detected that before you actually arrived in the system. So they were sending that out for a while before your arrival. So it's probably not to do with you, but that's an open question right now.
Do we see any evidence of the people?
Yes, you sent an away team down just to do a covert observation. And in a rural area with some farmland and stuff like that. They are a multi-jointed marsupial bipedal species covered in small fur with like thick manes running down their backs. They tend to wear loose clothing and stuff like that. I think I put a picture up, but I don't have it up.
Yeah, it was on Discord in the Star Trek channel. So if you guys are watching at home,
Let me go.
And I think that's where we left off. Is everyone? Was
These little guys.
What's that?
Okay, yeah, I saw this and didn't know what it was referring to.
Okay, yeah. So we were preparing for a first contact mission to the surface. So I think you had decided, Captain, you wanted to take everyone with you.
Yes,
All the senior hands have your best people there.
absolutely. Our first experience with first contact as a crew, bridge crew, plus Lieutenant Chivor.
Mm-hmm. And Lieutenant Chivor as well. Anyone else you want to take with you?
I think we decided on 5.
Okay.
And then there's just a couple other hints besides the broadcast about the outsiders. We found something else about
the prophets.
heralds.
Yes, prophets and heralds.
Right.
Prophets and heralds.
Just some cultural stuff. The prophets appear to be quasi-religious leaders they're not part of the government necessarily, but their opinion carries a lot of weight with the government. And they talk about the heralds as sort of these almost, from the tone you're getting, like otherworldly or higher beings that sort of direct them and give them some of their basic laws and things like that. So just some cultural stuff to be aware of. You don't have much context for that yet, but it's good the first contact, so plenty of time to learn about all that as you guys head down. Everybody has their determination. You have no momentum in the pool to start.
Do we have one determination?
Yep, everybody has one determination.
How does that refresh?
Every session.
Yeah, every session you get it back. But there's other mechanisms to get it back as well.
That's what I was wondering, like, is there any way you get it back once you spend it?
There is ways to get it back, and there's also ways to get a second one. Like if you challenge a value, for example, I might offer you a challenge and say, hey, I'll give you a determination if you challenge that value. And it's, doing what's best versus what's following your value, those kind of, tension situations, I might offer you that. Or you might choose to pick that, depending on the circumstance. Right. So everybody loads into the shuttle. Somebody want to give me a con and control roll?
Is somebody going to try and take the controls away from the commander?
Not at all. Difficulty 0, just so we can get some momentum on the board.
Sure. Control, con. Yes, my focus of small craft applies. Task roll. All right, well, one momentum.
No problem. Okay, one momentum on the board.
Cool.
Right. And you guys are going to land in there was a square in front of the central government building, I believe, is where you guys are talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some nice and public where everybody can see.
And you're like going to do a flyby first to let people know before you come down?
Right.
Go meet these aliens.
That's right.
So you do a
we're
couple
the
circles
aliens
around the Capitol. It does draw some attention. And as the shuttle comes to a stop, you see a moderate-sized crowd gathered. Hard to predict what it should have been or if it's meeting expectations, but it seems a little small. But there's a crowd gathered as the doors open, and you see, these are marsupials you guys already identified, and a bunch of several of the females in the crowd have in their pouches. So they apparently carry their kids with them when they are carrying kids. And you guys step out of the shuttle and look around. This one figure steps forward.
Greg, before the figure speaks, can I establish something? I forgot to mention this before we started the stream.
Sure.
Would it have made sense for us to have used audio samples from that away mission to calibrate our universal translators?
Oh, I already did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did
That
that.
was all part of the analyzing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So your universal translators are applicable.
Great.
So he steps forward and he says, welcome, strangers. I am Cheskala. I answer of the people. Why have you come?
Captain Chichalor says, we gratefully accept your welcome, Jeskala. I am Captain Chichalor. This is my crew, whom I will introduce you to in due time. We are of the ship USS Curie, representing the Federation from many light years away. Many planets and many peoples, and we come in peace and curiosity.
I see. I welcome you. But you have come at an awkward time. I do not wish to seem inhospitable, but this is a holy time. And during this time, it would not be proper for us to receive outsiders.
Well, please accept my apologies. would there be a better time in the near future so that we can have a proper and formal introduction? So we might share the histories and special truths of our respective peoples.
The prophets are currently on pilgrimage. When they return, the holy time will have ended. It is a period of waiting. Once the prophets return to us, then that period will be over, and then we would certainly be interested in exchanging views and culture with you. But
Wonderful.
now is not the time.
Well then, do you know when the prophets will return?
Their journeys can sometimes take weeks or months.
And
I've been gone for a week at this point.
okay, we are patient people, and we are quite interested in respecting your customs so that we can best get to know each other on the terms that make sense to you. So with your permission, we'll stay in the system and stay in contact. And when your prophets return and you bid us welcome for a formal introduction, as you've just suggested, we would be delighted, and Irilor puts on a magnanimous smile. We would be delighted to return and discuss all that you're interested in, and we are as well.
As you say the word stay in the system, you notice some looks pass between, like, there's a small entourage that came forward with Cheskala. Some looks sort of pass between the other members of the entourage, and he kind of glances back over his shoulder without making eye contact with anyone. We hold no dominion over the area beyond our atmosphere. Come and go as you please.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, then we'll accept that. And I thank you greatly for the effort you've made to make us feel tentatively welcome, despite the fact that it is not appropriate based on your customs.
I am deeply grateful for your understanding.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if Commander Kitneo is about to lean into the captain, of course would perceive that and wait and say,
"It's not." And this is more to Craig, especially once the captain has engaged Jaskala in this conversation. Kitneo,
you guys are free to do rolls and stuff around that conversation.
Right,
cool.
Yeah, Kitneel is, as soon as that conversation has started, it's amicable. It's like, okay, I can ignore this now. The captain, the captain has this, and Kitneel would normally be on threat assessment, but Shavara is here, so don't even have to do that. Kitneel is looking for the sub-factions, the minority, well, not even minority, but the ones who are not able to speak up or not necessarily being represented, the, scruffy rebels in the alley, those guys.
Sure.
Looking for the others who might be wishing they could get a word in. And I know I'm 100% pulling a Riker here doing this, but it's like, okay, hang on. The government's over here. Who else is, needing a voice? And that's who Kitneel is looking for, even if it means we'll come back to chat with them, but trying to identify them at least.
Sure. Pitch me a roll.
I'm basically leaning on the security side of things and the assessing the area. The only thing I can think of is probably insight, but potentially presence, and just being the
I would say presence if you're going to carry yourself as a sympathetic ear.
Right. Yeah.
But insight would be more without revealing much about yourself, taking the measure of somebody else.
Oh yeah. I mean,
okay.
He's very, effusive and such.
Sure.
And were you good with security, or
would it be okay?
Fine. Cool. Would this fall under diplomacy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Understanding factions within a group, for sure.
Cool. I will leave our momentum for the time being.
Ooh.
Nice.
How's 3 successes, Craig?
That's pretty good. Was a difficulty 1 social skill, so you could add 2 more momentum to your pool.
Fantastic. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. The crowd is... You see some questioning glances as Chikala is saying, this is a holy time. People are like, huh? Is kind of their reaction.
See?
But they're not, like, no one's looking to speak up.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they apparently have some wider context on why he would say that, even if it's not actually true. You do see a couple of, and it's a new species, so you can't really get the body language 100%, but they look either nervous, possibly scared, or maybe even aggressive. There are several people in the crowd, a minority of them, that are looking at like they're agitated for some reason.
So Kitneal will lean over and speak, yeah, go ahead.
Let me offer you that you can use some of that momentum that you just bought to gather or gain information.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And you may ask me a question per momentum that you spent.
Right. Yeah, I guess I will add in one that basically is, do I notice any specific like group of people, similar to the Jaskala having his little entourage? Do I spot another group? And of course, this is alien species, so I probably couldn't tell the difference between a friend group and work group versus a family group, but just trying to spot that other clique that might be not exactly on board with the speaker.
Based on their manner of dress, you can interpret that there are a few subgroups within these people, but they all appear to be represented by members of the entourage that's with Jaskala.
Okay, cool. And well, yeah, I'll let Craig and Ash, not Craig, Chris and Ash, jump in here but Kidney will have something to mention to the captain when this is done.
Fantastic.
My thought is that the doctor would be relatively in a similar manner, but with a different intent, scanning to see if there's any apparent like class differences, or if there's like a group of people that are sort of looking, undernourished, or any signs of diseases and stuff like that.
Sure, pitch me around.
Insight and medicine is kind of
Sure.
what I was thinking.
Sure.
Ooh, successes.
That's a difficulty 1, so you can add another momentum to your pool.
Awesome.
I'll spend it for gather
Obtain
information.
Right? So I'm going to tell you what you get first, and then you can ask a question. So there are a few members in the crowd, a small minority, that appear to have injuries of some kind, just contusions, abrasions, that kind of stuff. Swollen eyes, things like that. Just a small minority appear to have minor injuries, but have been treated and stuff. They're not neglected or anything like that.
Right. Okay.
Overall, the health looks fairly even around. There's no one that's doing, there's not like one group that's obviously doing much better than everyone else. There's no one that's doing way poorer than everyone else.
Sure.
From the sample size you have in front of you, it looks like things are fairly even. And if you want to obtain information.
Don't you have that talent?
Yeah. Everyone? A question? Ask. Or maybe any more specifics on apparent cause of these injuries or something?
I can give you that it looks like the kinds of wounds that you'd receive in hand-to-hand combat with a superior opponent.
Like defending yourself sort of things?
It's
or
beyond,
like actually like in a fight and
it's beyond
getting
defensive.
whooped
It
on.
looks like some of these folks have had a beatdown.
Okay.
Ooh.
And then, I guess like with my scanner and stuff, the sorts of treatments that they've been given, is that apparent?
Pulling out a tricorder at a first contact may be
Probably not the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can still ask a question, and I can give you what you would get with just your eyeballs.
Yeah, like what sort of like level is their medical tech at? Is it just like bandages and stuff, or
No, it looks pretty good. Be like the the equivalent of synth flesh and things like that. Like you can see they're obviously been treated, but the medical tech looks on a par with early Federation sort of medical.
That's pretty
science.
good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else?
I was going to ask for permission to explore elsewhere. Now is not a good time to meet you, but could we look at the planet?
Okay. Jaskala says within the envelope of our atmosphere, we are unable to welcome you at this time. But you are free to go where you wish, anywhere else in the system.
Okay, so we're not welcome on
That's
planet,
right.
not just to them. Okay.
Out of character. Cool. Satellites are outside of the atmosphere. We're going to go check some.
That was the captain's plan.
Cool.
Yep.
Yep. Time for intense scans.
Captain, there are a number in the crowd that have suffered what look like beatings, but they've been patched up.
Duly noted, Dr. Hudson. The captain then turns to Jaskala and says, "Forgive me, Speaker, if I ask an inopportune question, but it seems that some of your entourage and others might have recently suffered some injuries. We have relatively advanced medical technology and would be more than happy to help heal any that have suffered any harm for whatever reason.
As a sign of...
It's a sign of goodwill and good faith.
But we have the ability to look after our own.
All right. Well, I think you've made your stance and perspective quite clear, and we appreciate how gracious you've been up to this point. And so we will take our leave of you for the moment and look forward to meeting in the future to, as I suggested, share the truths and histories of our peoples.
Sure,
We
you can leave them
some
on a
sort of
sure.
communication.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yes,
some
very
way
good.
to signal us.
To call us, yeah.
frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
You can broadcast this on this frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We'll get it.
That's a good suggestion. So, the Captain Chichelor will turn to Lieutenant Zekelnen and say, Lieutenant Zekelnen, if you'd be willing to provide the speaker with the communications frequency we're likely to use from the bridge, as well as a comm link, I think that would be sufficient.
He glances over his shoulder towards the Capitol building for like a good 3 or 4 seconds before he turns back and says, "That would be acceptable. We will contact you when the profits return."
Great. Thank you.
You give me your communicator.
Yeah.
And he puts it into the folds of his robe.
Can I?
Did he have any like?
Sorry. It's all right.
Does he have any obvious like earpieces or something like that?
No.
Any sort of like That, like staring at the building and then answering a question would really draw attention.
Yeah.
I'm highly
It's more like
curious
he
about
was
this distress beacon.
About what?
The
distress-
warning beacon they had going off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it would be like the emergency alert system, roughly the equivalent of it. So it's just using regular EM frequencies. These enough to pick up and stuff.
Yeah,
Captain has a
actually,
plan.
Yeah.
that is a very, very good point. And Kitneal will actually speak up to Jeskala, especially after the captain has just kind of nudged about, oh, we can fix your friends. Kitneal will, add in if actually no, he's not. Nope, never mind. Hanging on to the whole we can listen to your radio stuff for the minute.
Okay.
Yep.
Captain has a plan. Let's keep it close to the chest for a moment.
But yeah, if everybody else is good, actually,
Cool. The thing I was going to speak up and say is, Craig, if it's all right with you, I'd like to make a presence in command roll to represent Captain Chichelor's effect on the speaker and the crowd.
Sure.
Because he has some suggestions he might bring up to the rest of the crew that might benefit from a positive effect.
Sure.
Cool. All right. Let's go back to roll 20. All right. I'm going to spend 1 point of momentum by a die. And I think diplomacy here might be an applicable focus.
For sure.
Great. Cool. Presence command. 3. Ooh.
All right.
And a complication.
Complication.
So what is it that you're doing? Trying to get a read on...
Not trying to get a read. Just trying to convey to everyone around that we are trustworthy, stalwart, and intend them no harm.
You're kind of doing like a stage whisper kind of thing where you're talking to us, but you're really talking to them?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. He's not really concealing anything, just to represent the total effect of all of the interaction that he's been leading. And I'll just say out of character for some cue you all in on that. Captain Chichelor has definitely gotten the idea that, okay, we need to investigate this a little bit more, and then the rest of the crew wants to do that. So he suspects that some in-person interaction somebody might want to sneak in and talk to somebody. So he's trying to grease the wheels there, right? And he also wants to, based on the groups that you all have been recognizing, right? If somebody wants to contact some of them and cause some insurgency, he's hoping that people are going to be more receptive to anyone in the group.
All right. I am going to take a threat for that complication.
Sounds good to me. And what's the difficulty of the task?
The difficulty was a task 1.
Okay, cool.
So you can add 2 momentum back into the pool.
Great.
Unless you want to spend any of that for obtaining information.
Oh,
But I will tell you that you are self-assured and you're confident, and your message has been very clear. So that has filled the people with a sense of you. This is somebody who means what they say and says what they mean.
Great. Excellent. Okay. That's what he's going for. Okay. I can't think of something specific Captain Chichelor would ask. I'm happy to spend a momentum to ask a question that another member of the crew would want to know.
I'm pretty good for the moment.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're good.
Okay. So bank those 2 momentum.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We're now at 5. It's going to be helpful. Okay. Just about to pop off.
All right.
And basically, Keneal as loading everybody up, because for him, he's first out with Shavor, last in with Shavor, and as the doors are closing, looks to Shavor and say, "You pick up anything weird?"
That place, yeah, she says that place is a powder keg.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to.
Something's going on. They do not want us to know about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to loudly say the communications frequency we can be reached on, so that he got the communicator, but they all heard me.
Excellent.
Sure.
Perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
No problem.
And
you guys pile in the shuttle and head back up. We got plenty of momentum, so I'm not going to make you roll.
Excellent.
You guys make it back up to the Curie.
Cool.
Get into the docking bay, and you guys are pile out and you're kind of standing around in the docking in the shuttle bay,
Mhm.
sort of discussing what happened down on the planet. Any post brief you guys want to do?
Yeah.
While you're there.
Yeah, Captain Chichilo will turn around and be like, all right, I know you all kept your eyes peeled and certainly have recognized things that I wasn't paying attention to. So I just want you to know that there's something suspicious happening. And I think we need to investigate it because it looks like there are some people who are under duress. Either have been or currently are. So I think in maybe about an hour, we should convene and discuss plans.
All right.
Just at that point, you guys hear like a clunk and a thud coming from inside your shuttle.
Oh.
Like
A stowaway.
everybody is probably looking into the shuttle. Kitneel is looking at Shavor.
Yeah.
She's phaser out, heading for the hatch.
Cool.
Shavor emerges a few seconds later, holding one of the natives from the planet below.
Ooh.
By her, you can tell there's a fairly strong dimorphism for the gender, so this is a female.
Uh-huh.
Smaller than the average that you saw out on the square, but not out of the normal sport.
Okay.
And she's got her hands out as she emerges from the shuttle. And she sees, I'm Maya. We need
Hi,
your
Maya.
help.
Captain Chichilor smiles, looks around, and says, well, we'll give it to you.
And that will be seen.
All right.
Anything to pick up while you guys are waiting for the final briefing? I'm assuming everyone's going to head to the ready room or the conference room.
Yeah. At this point, Kitneel is going to chat with the lieutenant and say, can we get some of the science crew to start picking apart some satellites?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And also, I want to check her out, make sure she's not hurt.
I'm sure the
Excuse me?
Yeah. Listen, we've got him not punching things, all right? So let's encourage.
Could do the opposite of a punch.
Anti-punch.
To be fair,
So-
my second in command is a xenobiology specialist with 6 points in medicine.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
The
6?
Denobian can
Yeah.
help.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's a doctor, apparently.
With 6 medicine?
I just before like out of character, you can tell me this. Is she one of the ones that has injuries?
No,
Oh,
does not
okay.
appear to be injured. But before you have that talk with her, you can absolutely take her to sick bay, give her a scan and once over and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's certainly your prerogative.
I think Dr. Hudson would make the suggestion that we have the sort of not quite interrogation
Yeah. There needs to be a conversation.
in the
Sure.
sick bay because it is incredibly private.
And having a new alien species on board would certainly be a great opportunity to get some bioscans
Yep.
for the database.
And a little bit of sequestering and whatnot. But
Sure. All right. So I think we'll open the scene in sick bay. Are you going to be there, Lieutenant Coleman? Or?
Mhm.
Okay. So in sick bay with the science officer and the doctor. And you have this nervous female alien sitting on a bed. How do you want to start? And like scans are running, you're doing the tricorder
Sure.
thing, and the
Absolutely.
biobed is
Like,
symbols
I've
of
delegated
people and
satellites
stuff.
to the science crew who does
Mhm.
satellites.
Yep, for sure.
Can I make a like presence and medicine roll for like having a really good like bedside manner and like putting her at
Absolutely.
ease a bit and stuff and getting her to like kind of start talking a little bit while I'm going through things?
Sure, absolutely.
While Chris is rolling that real quick, does Maya seem like very, like just from that initial reaction, seem very like overwhelmed by our tech, or does it seem kind of comfortable to her?
It's she's more curious.
Okay.
It's kind of the primary, like, ooh, that's neat, and that
I'm
kind
gonna
of stuff.
spend a momentum.
Sure. All right.
A science officer does not have that much medicine. Mr. Rider.
So you can obtain information, but so with the presence of medicine, you were trying to just calm her and let her understand she's being
More by to put her at ease so that she can start talking.
Sure.
And
Okay.
so that I can start getting information. Obviously, whoever else is there. Well,
Yep. So she was a little nervous coming into the medical bay at first, but like you let her hold a couple of instruments and tell her how they work and stuff like that. It totally puts her at ease. The vibe you're getting off of her is that she's a scientist.
right.
You're not sure exactly what kind, but she's got an inquisitive mind. She likes to see how things work, and she's very curious in that way. And if you wanted to obtain information, go ahead and ask me a question.
Yeah. I think both in and out of character. What kind of science does she do?
She is, what would be the equivalent?
Does she study?
Xenotechnology
Mm,
is her
Okay.
focus.
how convenient.
Does she suck
and-
onto our ship?
What's that?
Mm,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
might want to, depending on how you feel about her, you may not want to let her loose because she's got that xenotechnology focus.
Make sure she doesn't hide anything in her pocket.
Mm-hmm. But she is talking about, like, in her lab, she studies xenotechnology. So they have a source of xenotechnology somewhere
it must be interacting with
that
other.
they study.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about the work that she does in reference to the heralds and the builders.
Hmm.
So as you're questioning her, she talks about that the builders left installations on their planet, and the heralds gave them their mission, that their job was to maintain this garden for the builders' eventual return. And just from, and I'll give you that for free, the way she's talking, this was a very primitive culture that was uplifted by these creatures called the heralds.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I got that vibe too.
And just the phrasing she's using and the way they're talking about their history, and they were given laws and things like that form the core of their society. So these were primitive people that were uplifted by these creatures called the heralds, who worked for the builders, were servants of them, or partners with, or allies with, or something like that. But there's a clear distinction between the heralds and the builders. And her job is to study builder tech. So that's where a lot of their technology came from. That's why in some ways it's more advanced than you would expect for that civilization. In some ways it's a little more backwards.
Completely validates Dr. Hudson's sort of initial thoughts that something was off, because nobody gets to light speed without fucking up their planet at least a little bit.
And just to chime in here, hey Craig, what do they call themselves?
Yeah,
they are the Nead.
Yeah,
I'll put that name in there for you.
that is appreciated.
Put it. It's right here. I know.
Thank you, Barry.
Nevade. That's it.
It was just a guy named Harold Builder.
Harold Builder. Yeah. Like Bob the Builder.
Yeah.
Where did you?
So that's what they
thank
call
you.
themselves.
A new find. Sit on down, relax, have a nice glass of Nivea.
All right. So scans are done. She appears to be in good health. As a guess, you would think she's on the younger side of the adult scale.
Absolutely.
So you don't have a big sample size to go from, but that, based on size and genetic age and that kind of stuff, it looks like she's on the younger side of the
So, Maya, I've confirmed several of my theories about your planet and your species, your culture. Our initial scans. It is not often that a species, a culture, makes it to what we call warp-capable technology without impacting their planet, often in destructive ways. So to find such a wonderful, pristine world with a culture capable of warp drives and such definitely had me curious. So I thank you for confirming that. And well, if you'd like to get right to the sort of heart of why you snuck onto our shuttle.
She kind of lowers her head a little bit, like she's embarrassed a little.
Oh, don't be embarrassed. I think the fact that you are a scientist and not a warrior that snuck on board is perhaps very fortuitous.
I feel like this lets us learn more that we would have had to go out of our way to find otherwise.
Yes, but it was obvious to all of us that we were being stonewalled down there, and frankly, this makes it a lot easier for us to find out what is going on down there, rather than sitting up and sort of, well, frankly, spying on you for a month until these prophets return.
It may be longer than that.
Oh, I see.
A month ago, you were not the first travelers from the stars to come to our world. About a month ago, other ships appeared, and people appeared out of columns of light, and
Transporters
declared that they owned our planet. They understood that the prophets were very important to my people, and they took them hostage. And they make my people dig in the ground against the rules of the heralds.
Are these the people in your government buildings now?
They keep people to keep an eye on us, but for the most part, they know that they call us weak and cowards. They know that we won't rise against them as long as our prophets are in danger. The prophets are linked to the heralds and to the builders. Chaskala was not lying when he talked about a pilgrimage, and the prophets go on these pilgrimages from time to time and speak to the prophets, or then speak to the builder.
The heralds to the builders?
Communicate with them. No, they can speak with a builder, and they bring back the words of the builders to help guide our society. They're very important to my people. We would do anything to keep them safe, including not ask for help from new friends that we may have just met. If there's anything you can do to assist us.
Or
know
that
they have. What's that?
I'm sure that we will be happy to lend aid. I have a rather strong suspicion I know what it is that they make you dig for.
They said it was great power.
Fuel for spaceships. A rather large deposit.
That would be why. So they use my people as labor to dig in the earth.
Profit from your planet, yes. This is why we would be happy to help and eventually, hopefully, have your people join the Federation. We protect our own and each other.
That sounds like a lovely place.
We try.
Will you be able to help the prophets? Will you be able to save them? They are the conscience, the spiritual guardians of our people. They are very important to us. And they are our link with the builders.
We'll do everything in our power to.
That's all I can ask.
If I could make a little suggestion. This is the part where the TV show shifts and we're all suddenly at the table and Maya has just given us this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Told us all
Memory dump,
that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to surreptitiously start sending our satellites to look for the builder site
Sure.
to see what we can find out about it from up here, like looking down.
Sure. No problem. We'll get to that in a sec, so we'll put a pin in that one. So we're sitting in the conference room, and Maya has just told her story to the senior staff.
That's a compelling story, Maya.
I can get an insight science with what? Some sort of a biology focus to identify the aliens that she described.
I'll try.
Sure.
Insight science with a specialty in xenobiology and history.
Mhm.
Focus used, yes. It's a 2 die pass roll, right?
Why don't you buy a die?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Because my insight is not great.
No, 4 momentum. That's what it's there for.
Yeah,
Hey,
one.
that's
Oh, you
fine.
need-
Here we go.
So they match in many ways in their attitudes and their actions and the visual description that she gives you. These are most likely Klingons.
Yes.
Thank you, Craig.
Yes. All right.
Now, based on what you know, is that somewhere in this system or nearby are probably 3 Klingon ships.
Cloaked warbirds.
Yeah, I was to say TOS. We had cloaking then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
Klingons definitely had cloaks.
They've had
Cool.
cloaks for a long time.
Yep. Cool.
But the cloaks
Oh,
are on
yeah.
this. The
What
cloaks
does
are on
their
the
fashion have
smaller
to do with
ships. Right. So the D5 and the D7 battle cruisers they didn't cloak because those are too big. It's the raiders, the smaller ones, that have the cloaks. So they tend to be a smaller ship, but they have a lot of firepower.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but
yeah.
they're basically glass cannons.
They'll
Yeah,
fuck you
can't
up.
have your shields up.
That's right. And they.
I'm just gonna heavy sigh at this because
their specific strategy is they drop their cloak, unload, and then
Yep.
cloak again before it can respond.
Yeah. This is going to
But
be
if you get a hit on them, they're paper thin. Now
So pleased.
that would possibly explain the warp signature you guys detected as you were approaching the system that went away as you arrived.
That makes sense.
So they could be hiding somewhere in the system, or they could be cloaked. There's many ways to hide a sensor signature in a planet with gravity wells.
Yeah. So does Lieutenant Zeklin express her recognition?
yeah,
Character.
basically as she's describing this, it's like
Klingons.
Klingons.
Klingons. Well,
Who we are at this point currently at war with, right?
Well, yeah,
Okay, I couldn't remember if it had gone Cold War or not, but okay.
oh, I think it's still hot because, you know, the mistakes that people made in diplomacy
Right.
lasted a long time. We're still in honor duel status. So, yeah, okay. Captain Chichalor says,
Oh, and just to
Well.
clarify, it's not that you necessarily open fire on sight,
Right.
but there's definitely some active hostility between
Oh,
the
okay.
Klingon Empire and the Federation.
all right.
So it is. So yeah, you wouldn't necessarily assume that if you see a Klingon, they're going to attack you, and you have to attack them.
Great.
So it's not like an active war, but there's definitely a lot of aggression.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Diplomacy still on the table.
But it would not be surprising if it goes that way.
It would not be surprising if a Klingon warbird decloaked and unloaded on you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've just recognized that there may be 3 hostiles in the system who mean us harm and mean these people harm. So, in order to avoid being caught with our pants down, Commander Kidneyall?
I mean, we can, sir, but if we do so, and this may be a better question for Craig, if we go to red alert, I'm sure that's going to have something is going to ping on sensors.
Yes.
Right.
It will be detectable that you are getting ready for action.
Right. So I was just like, Captain, much as I really want to push this big red button, I think for now, if we can continue with the charade of having no idea that the Klingons are here, that may aid us, but I will pass along that we are to be at ready stations.
Fine, make it yellow.
And can't make it yellow.
we don't have a yellow alert special effect.
We don't have a yellow alert.
Oh, that's right.
That's okay.
We do have a red alert, but yeah. So yeah, we do go to a yellow alert, and then
an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different stages, like like the Department of Defense,
right,
or
Go
Homeland
ahead.
Security.
DEFCON.
The chart.
Yeah, exactly.
DEFCON,
Kind of
yes. So
Put it up on the big board.
Mm-hmm.
That said, besides that, Kidney will ask Maya, do you know where the prophets are being held? Are they on the planet?
No, we don't know.
Okay.
We know that there are, as you call them, Klingon overseers in the mines, who communicate regularly with their ships. It's terrifying for the people because when they need new workers, people will just vanish in columns of light and appear in the mines and start working. And when somebody is too exhausted or too tired, they come back and we try and nurse back to health, and they tell us stories about what's happening in there. But the Klingons are treating us like a resource to be used.
That is a familiar tale, and I regret that your people is experiencing that harm.
Kidney was deep in tactical thought, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll get that reason science roll now for the scans of the planet.
Okay.
And the ship can help if somebody wants to roll for the ship.
I don't know if because I have botany, geology, history, infiltration.
History? Sure, I'll go for history.
What is the ship rolling?
This is a difficulty 2 task. The ship will be rolling sensors and I don't remember.
Okay, I'm going to buy a die with a momentum.
Science.
Excellent.
Yeah, sensor science.
The ship rolls 1 dice to assist.
Correct.
Yeah, 1 die.
Yep.
Awesome.
Nice.
Ooh.
1 and
2
a
in a complication.
All right.
How much momentum are we sitting on?
3. I'm going to buy down that complication.
Where is my...
That's what I was debating. But I think
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, so 2 successes with a complication. All right, so they can't detect a specific, like a non-matching architecture or something like that, but they do find a location on the planet that appears to distort your sensor readings. It's very localized. Like it's a campus-sized area on the planet where they're unable to get good sensor readings. And that would be the complication. So you don't know what's there. You can't see what's there. Your sensors aren't able to pick it up, but you can tell that there's a clearly defined area that's marked by this abnormal response.
I get a bonus momentum because the computer helped me.
Sure.
Which may only be used on the obtained information spent.
You may ask me a question.
Okay. Trying to think what information I just got. I basically found a thing I can't see.
Right. You know it's there, but you can't peer into it.
Now, if I remember correctly, this obtained information could be anything related to the task as well. So, like, could pick up another scan while in the process and stuff like that, right?
No, she can ask me any question related to the task that you just did.
Trying to think. Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else have a suggestion?
I was going to say, can we possibly pick up the location of the mines out of this too?
I have another question that you might be able to ask. If we've been kind of monitoring the planet passively, perhaps you could ask if any signals have come from that location that we've picked up in the recent past.
Or intercept the schedule. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if we've noticed active transmission from that area we've just identified.
Can we find transmission to it also?
In looking over the sensor logs, there's no record of transmissions to or from that location.
Okay.
It appears to be not active in that way. I will give you the location of the mine for free.
Okay, cool. Okay. And is it just a mine, or are we talking?
There is one location where they're currently mining. It's the largest deposits that are nearest to the surface.
And then another, and I hope this one is free. Dilithium can't be beamed, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Okay.
They have to physically go get it.
Oh,
and I have a bunch of shuttle pilots who need to be let out every now and then.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Captain Chicholo looks around at everyone and says, I think that we're all resolved that we're going to help and evade. And so we need to be quite careful in the actions we take. And I think it is our duty to avoid as much hostility as possible in the course of liberating these people from Klingon oppression. So it seems that there are a few things we need to do, right? We need to figure out if there are people on the planet who are actively oppressing and invade that we can interact with. We need to try and find those Klingon ships if they exist in system. And we need to determine if there are other Klingon ships nearby or that might be able to aid them. Because all three of those things could prove dangerous to us and are also sources of useful information. So our ultimate goal... Go ahead. Sorry, Craig.
Lieutenant Commander Griffiths just kind of holds up that. Captain.
Yes.
I feel like I should point out that according to Starfleet regulations, the people of this planet have not asked for our help. They have expressly refused us presence on their planet.
They have.
Now, I know the Prime Directive does not apply because they are a work-capable species. However, we have approached them openly and been rebuffed.
We have one asking us for help right now.
One person told us they did not require help, and one specifically said, we need help. So, Jiffus, I think those cancel each other out. We're looking at a rather neutral situation, don't you think?
Doug, Captain Chicholora says, Commander Jiffus, Starfleet regulation suggests that through a thorough reading, if the sovereign representatives of a people are able to make a request not under duress or oppression, through their own free will, then we are to respect it to the best of our ability. The situation here, by a very close and specific reading of regulations and an understanding of its intent, is that we are permitted, wherein a group that is a noted adversary or antagonist to our efforts to expand freedom throughout the galaxy is opposing those efforts, we can and should do what we must to liberate a people under their oppression.
Understood. I was merely offering a perspective that I don't think should be here.
It was welcome. I'm just letting you know where I stand in terms of Starfleet regulation.
And to be fair,
All right.
Jiffus, they said in the atmosphere. I'm just saying, I don't think the ships are in the atmosphere.
Another good point.
They could be on the surface.
It could be. And if they are, they're totally sitting ducks. I think be cloaked, but...
Maya, are there any amongst your people that require direct aid?
We are able to care for those that require it coming back from the mines. There were some that were injured in the initial. There were some deaths, but from what I've seen in the sick bay, our medical technology is not too far off from yours.
Very well. I was going to offer that I could perhaps stealthily venture planetside and give aid if needed, but if you do not think that is necessary at this time, then I'm sure there are other things that we can help.
I think the biggest issue right now is the safety of the prophets.
Which brings me to a question, and I know you may not know, and we are putting a lot of pressure on you, so feel free to, take a break when you need to. But your speaker, is he, I'm assuming he, I apologize, are they under continual observation by Klingons?
The Klingons keep a detachment of guards in the government house.
Okay.
And the speaker is a he. He is my father.
Perfect. Okay. I apologize for the position that your father is in. However, is he under 24/7 watch?
No. There is no... They don't follow him home, if that is what you're getting at. They're maintaining a watch on the systems of government.
Well, this is a way we can handle Jiffus's problem and potentially get more information. Captain, perhaps you should beam down and speak with the speaker privately.
Excellent suggestion.
It's a rather targeted shot.
I mean,
I don't
beaming
know
down
how long
isn't
they would
too bad.
take beaming down, considering their people have been stolen that way. And that's how the invaders showed up.
Well,
You could
my
call
mother,
them.
that's one thing we could do.
My
might be
concern there
intercepting
is
communications.
right.
This is if he's being monitored.
Right.
We gave him a communicator.
Yeah.
We can determine if he still has it or it's been intercepted. Another option is the direct approach. Once, my mother told me a story about one time during her responsibilities as a diplomatic liaison. She needed to negotiate a ceasefire among two warring groups on Andoria. And it seemed like it was heavily tilted in one direction. And the one group who wasn't getting the best side was going along with it. And she suspected that perhaps that they were under duress, that there was something the other side was using to oppress that one group. And so she decided, based on her bold passions and the directives of her heart, that she should provide a safe opportunity to hear people out outside of the context of a negotiation room. So she snuck in. She leapt a chasm. She traveled through the night. And she had an intimate conversation with this person and learned that, indeed, their daughter was being held hostage. At the time, she wasn't lauded for that choice because it breached the objectivity that she was supposed to be providing. But in the long run, she was given meritorious commendation for her actions to try to provide a genuine opportunity for everyone to act with true agency. I'm reminded of that moment now.
I like your mom. But I mean, like mother, like son.
Yes. I think we're going to try it. This is what I suggest. Go ahead, Dr. Hudson.
I was just going to be asked to be excused from the meeting, sir, as any way I see this going, my medbay will need to be in tip-top shape.
Fantastic. Excused.
And he just like, son of a bitch.
I mean, one way or another, yeah.
Klingons. Why did it have to be Klingons?
Yep.
So Captain Chichalor turns to Commander Kitniel and Lieutenant Zeklinen. Oh, and then Lieutenant Shavor as well. And says, "This is what." Sorry, good, okay. Cool, great. And says, "This is what I think we should do. I am safely transported down to the planet, avoiding radar detection by Commander Kitniel. I'm dropped off at a safe distance during a time that Maya suggests I might be able to speak with the speaker without the prying eyes of Klingon overseers. Lieutenant Zeklinen and others maintain a transporter lock on my insignia, right? Maintain a transporter lock. So that in the event that I signal that there is a problem, I and possibly others can be beamed up immediately. And that way we avoid any possible snooping through sensors or alerting the Klingons of our presence through the use of technology."
And just to clarify, you're saying Kitniel will take a shuttle down to drop you off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Out of character, I think we asked if we would be able to avoid like radar detection with the shuttle.
So the sensor detection that the natives have, yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Klingons, not necessarily.
If the Klingons are watching,
that's a good point.
Very unlikely.
Okay.
The Klingons,
however, says that he might be able to disguise a transporter to obfuscate what it is and put you down. It might be a bit of a bumpy ride, but he has a procedure for doing that.
Like, if the Klingons could see you transporting someone down, if you could hide it, then.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I still don't think you should pop into his house.
Oh, of course not.
Walk in.
Sneak up.
Yeah.
So Shavor says...
Good suggestion.
So the biggest threat, the biggest issue we have right now is that no one here will ask us for help while their prophets are in danger. And we have no idea where the prophets are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of Klingon overseers at a mine right now.
Oh yeah, no. Shavor, you and I are on the same page. Because
why don't we cut out the local government for now, get us some prisoners, and do some questioning.
Yep.
And then talk to the speaker. Or talk to the speaker with the prophets freed.
Right.
If we're so lucky.
To which Kitniel looks and says, "Yes, I was trying to get the captain over there while we went into the mine. But now that you brought it up..."
Sorry, sir.
My
we'll
only
talk about it
hesitation
later.
with that is, I feel like kidnapping Klingons is almost guaranteed to have those ships come after us.
It is a possibility.
It depends on the check-in schedule. Klingons are generally fairly independent.
Do they not have communicators?
Sure, they have communicators, but we have ways of blocking that from happening. And as long as the shipments arrive on time, the Klingons don't generally check up on one another. They're definitely not micromanagers in my experience.
If you think we can do this without getting 3 warships coming after us.
Oh yeah, at the end of the day, that is high on the priority list because Constitution class we are not.
No, but
Outclassed, outnumbered.
but based on the scans we saw, like the dilithium here, this is a strategic level resource. The
Yep.
Klingons aren't going to want to make a lot of waves unless they have to. Because if it becomes that big of an issue, then Starfleet's going to send a fleet out here. So
All right.
I think the Klingons are going to want to keep it as small as possible unless things get out of hand. Does that make sense?
It does.
But if we can free the prophets, we can induct these folks into the Federation, and then they have Federation protection, which
Indeed.
carries a whole lot more weight for the Klingons than just an independent planet with other Federation people messing around. My 2 cents, sir. I'm a tactical officer.
Can I just
Point
take
hand
my
to the spear.
protocol
Yeah.
background?
Sure.
Would I know the Federation won't come, right? Like if we call for backup, saying we're meeting some people and might be getting tangled up with some Klingons who are also interested in the people on this planet and are tormenting them. This isn't a Federation planet. They don't.
This is
They're
not a
not gonna
Federation
back us
planet,
up.
and you guys are a long way away from Federation space.
Yeah, the thing is, even if we speed induct them, they're not going to get here in time to help.
Not against these three, but the loss of the dilithium will be, significant. Or in this case, the Federation gaining access to it will be significant.
So short term, you guys are on your own, although there is one resource you might be able to call upon.
Yes.
That's not too far away,
Kovac.
but it would take some time for that to happen. But
She's going to ride in.
for the short to medium term, you guys are on your own here. So however you decide to handle it, it's up to you.
All right.
Like even
Yep.
getting a message back to Starfleet, which you could do through subspace and the network you guys have set up, it would take quite some time for a message to even get there, and then
Yeah.
send the
Let alone
fleet back
get
out would be. We're talking months.
Right.
So yeah, we can't bank on the Federation helping us at all. So
No.
It's all us.
Which actually...
helping us or them. Helping us or the people
Right.
on this planet.
Which actually does bring up, within the universe, I know we're getting close on time. Our 1 Miranda class versus 3 Klingon, birds of
It
prey.
depends on the class of the ships
Right.
that you're facing. So you guys are roughly the equivalent of a D5, which is the smaller. It's like a frigate class, or destroyer class. If they have a D7 here, that's a whole different animal. That's equivalent of an Enterprise, like a Constitution class. So if they have a D7 here, you guys would be definitely outmatched. If it's just 3 warbirds, they have a hell of a lot of firepower, but if you can get a hit in, it's going to hurt them a lot. So that, depending on cloaking and stuff like that, that might be more of an even fight.
Evening the odds.
Yeah, like a warbird has something like 12 people or 20 people on board as a maximum crew. Right, they're a very small ship, but it's all guns and warp core.
Oh, yeah. We want to sneak onto the ship.
that would be a thing.
That's what we want to do.
We'll mount that trophy in your Lieutenant Zuckelman.
Oh, yeah.
Just have it lashed onto the saucer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Park it on the front.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna put that in the wing. Okay.
Yeah.
As a gift to Wing Commander Levine.
We'll have to strap it to the back of the Curie, but sure.
Hey, exactly. All we need is Wondrous Machine.
Hey,
Yes.
Mage coming in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And they will be far and away from Wondrous Machine.
So
It's going to be
as
like
we-
Voyager. We're going to retrofit it with weapons from other ships. Sorry, Craig, go ahead. Getting off
As
topic.
we head into the break, do we have a plan, or do we want to
That's what
think about it
that's
over
what I was
the
about
break
to-
and then-
Captain Chichalor is going to make some suggestions, and then, of course, we can talk about it over the break. So Captain Chichalor says, all right, so it seems that we have 2 main goals, and we could potentially split up in a third, right? We want, I could perhaps talk to the speaker, and then another detachment can approach the mine and subdue some Klingons for interrogation and discussion. We also want to be monitoring the area in the event that we attract the attention of the ostensible Klingon ships. And so it seems like there are 3 groups. I also want to recognize that we haven't confirmed, or then Captain Chichelo turns to Maya and says, we haven't confirmed that you're okay with the things that we are suggesting.
To be honest, I'm kind of in over my head. You folks know a lot more about this than I do. And I'm not one to follow the crowd among my people. I'm a bit of an outcast that way, which is probably why I'm here instead of down there following the rules. As long as we can save the prophets, then that'll go a long way towards freeing you from fetters that my government might be putting on you.
All right.
Yep.
Well then.
Which brings, Captain, if I may suggest a third thing, potential scans of the planet or the system to see if we can locate the warbirds or potentially any other Klingon holdout staging point.
You were given freedom to observe and gather information elsewhere in the system.
Right.
You could certainly do scans of the other planets in the system and satellites, like natural satellites and things like that, as a cover for seeing if we can find a warbird hiding somewhere.
Right. Because even if, we come real close to a warbird, they're not just going to pop out and shoot, because that gives up the game.
In that case, I'd suggest that Lieutenant Zekelnin, you lead the effort for scanning the system and preparing us in the event that we do attract the attention of the warbirds. Commander Jeffis, please assist her where necessary. Commander Kitniel, you and Lieutenant Chavorer can plan an assault on the mine, perhaps to liberate some people or acquire the Klingon overseers, for the purpose of interrogation. And then Captain Chichelor turns to Maya and says, and you'll tell me everything I need to do to try and have a short private chat with your father.
Okay. And I think that brings us into break. Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again for our little Star Trek mini-series. Drew takes a break to gear up for next Mage Chronicle. Please join us on Discord. It's an awesome community. People share their art and stuff, and I love it so much. And there's birds and animals and all kinds of stuff. Well, lots of fun stuff there at yeetinto.space. If you feel so inclined, you're more than welcome to support us on Patreon at staylucky.club. Never going to go over that. We use that money to pay for artwork and refresh equipment for the crew and things of that nature. So thank you very much if you're able to give us a hand there. And I guess that's it. So Twitch guys, we'll see you after the break, and YouTube folks, we'll see you in a few days. Bye.
Join us next time for more bold action.